Hey, Allie, I'm just testing sound. Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in about 20 minutes or so. Hope you're have some props, your mat, a bolster, a couple blocks would be great. If you don't have that stuff, that's totally fine. No worries. We'll modify however we need to. If you're just joining, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Sarah. I wish I could see you all, but I can't. I know that some people are here. We'll get started right at noon Eastern Time. If you do have a blanket, a bolster, a couple blocks, you might want to grab that as we prepare for our restorative practice. If you don't have any of that, no worries at all. Just grab your mat or something to lay down on. It'll be a very relaxing restorative practice today. Hopefully, will help relieve some tension, some stress, and calm the nervous system. So again, thank you for being here. I can see that some people are joining, and we'll get started in about 15 minutes or so. Thanks all. Also, happy summer solstice, everyone. First day of summer. It's also International Yoga Day, so it's an appropriate day to be practicing and setting some new intentions for our practice today in this new season. So yeah, solstice blessings and happy International Day of Yoga, which is I think that's a new thing, but it's been a few years now celebrating that. So welcome everyone. And again, we'll get started in about 10 minutes or so. So just get comfortable, and I wish we could have this back and forth communication. I feel like I'm just talking at the wall here, but I know you're out there. I can see that you're here, and happy to be together this morning on the West Coast, this afternoon on the East Coast. If you're just joining, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Get started in about 10 minutes or so. I'm Sarah, by the way. Thanks for being here. Happy summer solstice and International Day of Yoga, wherever you are joining from. Thanks for being here. If you're just joining, thank you for joining. Happy Monday, everyone. We'll get started in about 5 minutes. Again, sorry for the people who are here if I'm repeating myself so much, but if you are just joining, you may want to grab some props. If you have a bolster, a block or two, a blanket, that may help and support your practice. But if you do not have that, no worries at all. I'll make sure to cue without props. I know we don't all have home yoga props, so I'll make sure that there's plenty of options for everyone to just release some stress today, feel really good on this International Day of Yoga, and yeah, just find some stress relief, some nervous system calming. I know we're on our feet a lot, so we'll do some postures that kind of reduce the swelling in the legs and the feet today. We'll get into kind of the areas in the body that may feel a little tense habitually, which, speaking for myself, lower back, hips, shoulders, neck, everything. So we'll find some spaciousness and freedom in those areas in the body. Yeah, and again, we'll start in just a couple minutes. So thank you so much for joining. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Happy International Day of Yoga and Summer Solstice. My name is Sarah Beston. I'll be guiding your practice today, and we'll be moving through just a really restorative and calming practice to calm the nervous system, to release tension and stress that you might be holding in the body, and really just targeting those areas in the body that may feel a little bit stuck or tight, which we all have. So the shoulders, the neck, lower back, the hips. Also, want to get into the feet and the ankles a little bit. If you're on your feet a lot, they can swell. So we'll do some postures that will reduce the swelling in the feet and the ankles. And yeah, just a really overall feel good practice on this Monday afternoon, Monday morning. I'm here on the West Coast. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. And let's begin. So we'll start on our backs. Also, if you are having any props, or if you have any props in your house, a couple blocks may be helpful. A blanket or a bolster may be helpful as well. If you have none of that, no worries at all. We'll have many options to get into the postures without props. So again, let's get started on the back. So roll back as you're ready. Have a place where you can take up a little space as we move into these postures. And if you do have two blocks, you might take them with you, and I'll show you why in a moment. We'll start with the soles of the feet together. Let the knees open up wide. Call this reclined butterfly pose or Supta Baddha Konasana. And then maybe draw one hand to your heart and one hand to the belly, or you could just bring arms on either side of the body if that feels a little more relaxing for you. And get comfortable. If it's too much in the hips to come right into this posture, having one block under each knee may assist you, or you could take a couple pillows or books under the knees. And if it just really doesn't feel good to get into your hips, just straighten out your legs on your mat. Just lay down. How often do we get to do that? So just take a moment to arrive. If it feels comfortable where you are to close your eyes, go ahead and let your eyes soften and close as you shift the gaze to the internal space. Otherwise, just find one point to focus your gaze. Let your body just feel relaxed and heavy and supported on the earth. And then just begin to tune in to how your physical body might be feeling today. And we do this by scanning through the body from the tips of the toes all the way up through the crown of your head. And as you start to tune in and notice how the physical body is feeling today, maybe noticing any places where you may hold tension. So habitual tension that's held in the body. If something is clear to you for that, just noticing that without the need to change anything at this moment. Just observing, perhaps inviting those spaces to relax just a little bit more. And then begin to tune into the natural rhythm of your breath. So noticing the rise of your inhale beneath your hands if they're on your body, or just the expansion through the rib cage on the inhale. And that letting go, release quality of the exhale. You might even let out a sigh. And let's do that a few more times together as we take a few cleansing breaths. So allowing a big full breath in through the nose as you feel the expansion in the rib cage, the lungs. And then maybe open up the mouth and let something go, releasing what you might be holding. Good. One more like that. Big full breath in. Long, expansive breath. Maybe sigh it out. Let something go. Release. Beautiful. And then start to come back to the natural rhythm of your breath. And just by bringing the attention and your awareness to your breathing, notice how the body begins to relax just a little bit more. How the breath begins to deepen, Just a little bit. Anything we bring our attention, our awareness to begins to change. And so there's this extending of the exhale, letting the exhale be just a little bit longer than the inhale as a way to begin to calm the mind, calm the body, and just arrive here. And if anything begins to become uncomfortable here, feel free to adjust. We'll hold these postures for just a few minutes as we start to get into the connective tissue and the fascia. But again, if it's too much, there should be no discomfort. So you can always adjust, you can always straighten out the legs, do what feels good for you. And as the invitation in your practice today, take what works for you, leave what doesn't. Everything is just a suggestion. As I'm here to guide you, you're your own best teacher. And let's hold here for just another 30 seconds or so as we continue to tune into the breath, to get into the hips. And this posture, reclined butterfly, is really good if you sit a lot. It starts to let the blood flow come to those spaces where we're seated a lot, starts to open up through the hip flexors, the lower back. Just observing a few more breaths here. With every exhale, letting go just a little bit more. Beautiful. And then as you are ready, start to reach your arms up over your ears. So you're stretching through the shoulders, reach the fingertips above your ears, and then straighten the legs if they're not already straightened. So you're taking a full body stretch, maybe point and flex your feet a few times, maybe roll out your ankles a few times in either direction. Just take up space, let it feel good. Good. And then start to draw your knees into your chest. So you can hug the knees in, maybe wrap your forearms around your shins. And then just invite a gentle rock from side to side as you begin to massage through the lower back, noticing how the lower back is feeling this morning. Certainly something I'm hearing a lot of lately is my low back feels tight. It's true for me. Notice if it's true for you. Good. And then maybe take your knees in circles in either direction to get into a different sensation. Beautiful. And then as you're ready, reach your arms out on either side of your body so you can bring the palms to face down and then start to parallel your shins to the earth. Let your knees come up right over your hips and you can flex your feet. We're going to move into a reclined spinal twist here. So when you're ready, start to let both knees drop all the way to the right side of your mat. Now, option to modify here by putting a bolster, a block, a blanket under your knees just to bring the floor up to meet you. That might feel a little bit more relaxing. But if it's okay to let your knees rest on the earth, then let the knees rest on the earth. Now let your left shoulder soften down. You might take your gaze over the left arm if that feels okay, and your neck. It can actually be a really nice stretch for your neck. But if that's not feeling so great, just look straight up, or you can even look over to the right side. And you might take your right hand on top of your left thigh, or just let that right arm relax open to the right. And then let the body settle. Relax into this shape. And then come back to just noticing the natural rhythm of your breath. Just this inhale. And just this exhale. And as you exhale, where can you soften and release just a little bit more without force, without needing to change anything? Releasing into the support beneath you. And twists are really good for detoxifying, really good for the spine. You also might feel a nice stretch in the shoulders, the neck. Really, these poses are so individual as there are as many twists as there are people doing twists. So just kind of notice where you're feeling it, what the effect is on your body and on your mind. Kind of noticing if the thoughts are taking you away from this moment. Maybe anchor back to your breath. Just this inhale, just this exhale. And if it would feel good to set an intention for your practice today, call in an intention. And it can be anything at all. It can be a feeling state, something that you're working with. Really, the heart's desire. What do you need today to feel a little bit more at peace, a little bit more at ease? It can be the first thing that comes to you. And we'll stay on this side for about another minute or so. And again, if there's any discomfort, feel free to adjust. It's always a little bit tricky coming out of here, as you might find that your back cracks or something else. So take it nice and slow as you release. Maybe bring the soles of the feet to the earth for a moment. Pick up your hips and then place them back down on the earth so that you're neutralizing through the spine, coming back to center. Take a moment with the feet on the earth and just observe where that lands in the body and how you feel, the echo of that posture. You might feel a little lopsided, and we'll get into the other side to balance it out. So when you're ready, draw the knees back in, maybe rock a little bit from side to side here, massaging the lower back. Good. And then again, we'll bring arms on either side of the body, bring the palms to face down to begin. Parallel the shins, flex your feet, let your knees come up over your hips. And then roll to the left side, letting both knees drop to the left. Good. Let your right shoulder soften. If it feels okay in your neck, maybe you're gazing toward the right. If that doesn't feel good, you could look straight up or take the gaze to the left shoulder. Maybe pick up your left hand, take it on top of the right thigh if that feels okay. And again, if you want to bolster under the knees, a pillow, a blanket, that might feel supportive for you. And then just take a moment to land and observe and maybe notice how this side might feel a little different. And as you settle in, come back to your breath, extending the exhale just a second or two longer than the inhale. And if it helps to focus the mind by bringing a count to the breath, you might breathe in for the count of 3 or 4, and then maybe exhale for 5 or 6. Counting the breath can be it's a really nice tool to focus the mind, especially if you're feeling a little scattered. Just bringing the awareness to the present moment, breathing into any sensations that arise in the body. And we'll take another 30 seconds or so on this side. Start to notice the subtle movement, even within the held postures. There's still so much movement going on in the internal space. And then again, easy coming on out of there. Take your time. Maybe step the feet to the earth and you can lift your hips up, place them back down, and just find that neutral spine. Take a moment to let your body feel supported by the earth. And then this time we'll hug the knees in, maybe bring the hands to the back of your knees. And if it feels okay, just start to rock up and down along the length of your spine. If that does not feel good on your spine, just simply come to seated. So you can roll off to one side or just sit up. And you can take one shin in front of the other as we come into a cross-legged seated position. Good. Let your sitting bones land on the earth for a moment. Lengthen up through your spine and through the crown of your head. Good. And as we find this easy seat, we're getting into the hips a little bit. We're finding the length in the spine, and then interlace your fingers and press the palms of the hands up toward the ceiling. As you do that, let the shoulders start to draw down the back and then tilt up and over to either side. So we're taking a nice side body stretch. Keep the sitting bones rooted down as you do that. So it's like you're getting out of bed in the morning, you're taking that first stretch. Breathing in, breathing out. And anytime it feels good to sigh it out, make a noise, go for it. Just releasing that tension. As you come back through center, allow a big full breath in. Tilt up and over to the right side. Feel, or the left side, whatever side you didn't do, changing sides. Feel the side body stretch, the rib cage, and send the breath into the rib cage. Feel that expansion. Good. And then come back through center. Big breath in. As you exhale, just softly let your arms release on either side of the body. And let's get into the neck a little bit. So bring the right hand to the left ear. Gently start to draw the right ear toward the right shoulder. So you feel this stretch on the outer left side of the neck. And you can kind of root that left hand down on the earth, or if you want a little more sensation, reach the left arm out to the left, really extend through the left fingertips, and then maybe start to nod your head. Yes. And then lingering anywhere it feels good to linger as you get into any sensation in the neck or the shoulders. Beautiful. And then gently releasing that, coming back through center. And we'll take it to the other side. So bringing right hand to the outside or left hand to the outside of the right ear. Start to draw the left ear toward the left shoulder. And you can root the right hand down on the earth or reach the right fingertips out to the right. And then maybe nod your head as you feel into any sensations on this side of the neck. Kind of find the breath. Beautiful. And then again, just gently release that. Take a moment to take the opposite shin in front just to get into the other hip. And then maybe start to walk your hands in front of you for a moment. You can let the chin draw in toward your chest. Feel the opening in the back of the neck. Big full breath in. Long breath out. Good. And then walk your hands back in towards you. And then we'll move into a child's pose. So option to take a bolster if you have it underneath your torso, or you don't need it at all. If you want to just come into child's pose, you're bringing the big toes and heels together, knees together or wide, depending on what feels best for you. If the knees are wide, you're letting the torso drape down between your legs. And again, if you want to use the props, you could take this right under the torso, resting one side of the head on the bolster. Good. And then you can either reach your arms in front of you, or for a little bit more of a relaxed posture, wrap them back behind you. Maybe the third eye, the forehead is on the earth, or again, resting one cheek on the bolster. You can also have a block under your forehead if that feels best for you. And then just take a moment to tune in to how this posture feels, where you're feeling it in the body. Typically, it's the lower back, the hip creases. Just a really nice grounding posture really good for anxiety. You might feel that connection with the earth, support beneath you. And then, as much as you can, yield into the support of the earth. Allow the breath to begin to fill the back body, the lower back, the back ribs as you breathe in and breathe out. Maybe the eyes are closed. And just taking a minute or so to arrive here. Tune into the quality of the pose. Calming for the nervous system. You can start to observe what comes up for you, whether it's thoughts or sensations. Might be noticing the space around you, the sounds around you. Without becoming attached to any one thing, just becoming aware. Become the observer. Allow for about 5 more full, deep, conscious breaths here. Beautiful. And then as you're ready, you can start to reach your arms in front of you. If they're not already there. And then rise up onto all fours. So bringing yourself into a tabletop position. And we'll get into the wrists a bit here as we come to tabletop. So let the shoulders come right over your wrists. Let your hips land over your knees so you can press your shins into your mat. And then start to turn your hands out toward the side of your mat. And then as you start to shift your weight side to side, just kind of notice the sensation in your wrists, getting into the hands, the fingers, also an area that can be a little overused with our cell phones, our devices. So just stretching into those spaces. Now you can stay here with hands facing the side of your mat, or maybe with the right hand, start to bring the fingers to face towards you and you start to press the palm of your hand down to the earth. And maybe you start to shift your weight forward and back this time. If that's too much sensation for the wrist, which it definitely can be, just keep facing the fingers out toward the side of the mat. That will be a little less intense. And connect back in with the breath. Beautiful. And then you can switch sides as you're ready, taking the opposite hand, fingers facing towards you, pressing the palm of the hand down toward the earth. And then again, maybe taking that rock side to side. And I'm tucking my toes under to start to stretch into the soles of the feet as well. Also can be an area that is a little harder to get into. Good. And then face both hands in front. And as you tuck your toes, if it feels okay, sit back on your heels for a moment. And you might need to adjust your toes so they're tucked under. You can rest your hands on top of your thighs, either palms facing up or down. Let the shoulders soften and relax. And what may feel good to begin with very quickly can become intense. Sometimes we call this toe torture pose. But just taking a few breaths here to breathe into the sensations and open up through the soles of the feet. Good. And you might even take hands behind the back, take an interlace and start to draw the shoulders down the back. Maybe tuck the chin down toward your chest. Beautiful. And then come on out of there. Walk your hands forward. Untuck your toes. Maybe hit the tops of the feet on your mat just to release that. Good. And now from tabletop, we'll get into the shoulders a little bit deeper, taking a thread with our arms. So we're in that same position with the shoulders over the wrists, hips over knees. As you're ready, inhale, reach your right arm out to the right. Let the chest open up to the right. And then thread the right arm under your left arm as you come onto the right shoulder and the right side of your face. So resting the right side of the face down on the earth. And you can also have a blanket, a bolster under your head if that feels good. And then your left arm, you can walk it in front of you, or maybe take it behind your back and wrap it up. And then let the shoulder release onto the support of the earth. Breathe into the sensations. Let your hips stay level and just be here for about a minute or so. And let the body get heavy. So there's also this twist happening in the upper body, wringing it out. Beautiful. And then taking your time, we'll press through the left hand. Press your way back to all fours. Maybe move around a little bit here and just let go of that side. Notice how the right shoulder feels. Notice how the left shoulder feels. Good. And then neutralize, come back through center, and we'll take it to the other side, sweeping the left arm up, open the chest to the left, and then threading your left arm under the right, come onto the left shoulder and the left side of your face. And if you can, let that left side of the face really relax down onto the earth. Again, maybe a bolster, blanket, a pillow. And you can walk your right hand in front of you, or maybe wrap it behind your back. Let your hips stay level and even. And then release into the support beneath you. Breathe into this left side. Allowing a few full deep breaths here. Breathing in. Extending the exhale, releasing and breathing out. Oof. Take your time as you come out of that side, pressing through the right hand and the left hand. Move around a little bit. You might come back through child's pose. Good. And then we'll move into a downward facing dog just briefly as we start to stretch into the back of the legs and the hamstrings. So walk your hands in front of your shoulders just a little bit, about a handprint. And then tuck your toes. Lift your hips up and back. Now you can keep your knees as bent as you'd like here, especially if the backs of the legs are feeling a little tight. You can also step your feet a little wider, maybe even as wide as your mat. And then just start to pedal it out through your feet as you start to feel into the back body. So we've targeted a lot of the shoulders, the neck, the hips, starting to move into the calves, the hamstrings. You might shake your head yes and no, sway your hips side to side, really just intuitive movement. What do you need to feel really good here in this posture? We're getting upside down, so we're reversing the blood flow, getting the heart up over the head. Good for circulation, digestion. And just a couple more breaths here. This will be the hardest pose. So no worries if this is feeling like, oh my gosh, I was so relaxed and now I'm not. We won't be here long. So I want to get into the legs a little. Good. And then as you're ready, walk your hands back to your feet. So come to a forward fold at the back of your mat. So your feet can be about hips distance apart. Again, feel free to bend your knees really deeply. Let the torso drape down over your legs and let the head, neck, and shoulders just release. And then whatever feels good with the arms. So you might just let them hang down. You might have blocks under your hands. Maybe you're holding opposite elbows. Just that bowing inward towards yourself. So a really nice posture for anxiety, for calming the nervous system, the mind. And if it feels good to shake your head yes and no, go for it. Maybe sway side to side. Where do you need to let go? Just a little bit more. And if you're crossing at the elbows, take the opposite arm on top just for a couple more breaths. Maybe shift a little weight toward the balls of your feet. Sending the breath to the back of the legs, any sensations that you're feeling here. Beautiful. And go ahead and take your time to release the hands back down to the earth. Walk your hands in front of you back to your downward facing dog. Good. And then from your downward facing dog, start to float your right leg up to the sky. And then put a bend in your right knee just to open up through that right hip. But keep pressing through both hands and maybe roll out your foot in either direction. Good. And then we're moving into swan or single pigeon. So we'll start to straighten the right leg, draw the knee in towards your nose, and then let your shin rest down on the earth. And you can kind of wiggle in as you draw that right leg back, untuck your toes. Now, option to bring some props into this posture. So if this is feeling like way too tight in the hips, maybe there's a bolster or blanket under your right hip. A block would work as well. If there's any tension in that right knee, this may not be the best posture for you. And if that's the case, I'll show you. You can just roll onto your back and thread the needle by crossing the right ankle on top of the left knee, finding this figure four shape. This is definitely the same sensations. We're getting into the hips here, but it's a little less intense in the hips and the knees. So whatever works best for you is great. Just take your time as you transition into the posture. You could even take a bolster under your torso as you walk your hands in front of you any amount. And if you want to lift the bolster up, you can always take a block under the bolster and it create a little ramp here. And then maybe rest one cheek on the earth. Maybe you're just resting down on the earth. We'll be here for a few minutes. So find a place where you can hold. Again, if there's any discomfort at all, props may do the trick, or you can roll onto your back and just thread the eye of the needle. So we get into the hips a little deeper. And try to let the arms relax down on the earth if possible, so that there's no dangling body parts. Everything is supported, rested. And then once you find your shape and you feel supported, can you allow yourself to come back to the breath? Sometimes it's helpful in these postures to work with mantra, just the repetition of a phrase or a word, really just as a way to recommit to the present moment, to focus the mind, give your mind a break from the tasks that may be happening or may need to happen. Let those go for now. Promise they'll be there when we're done. So what anchors you to this moment? In yoga, we work with sensation, the breath. Again, mantra. And one that I really love in this pose is just, I am breathing in. I am breathing out. I'm breathing in and breathing out. And just resting in your awareness for just another 30 seconds or so. Any discomfort, feel free to adjust, honoring your body, what you know to be true. And again, with all of these poses where we hold for like 2, 3, 5 minutes, just really taking your time as you transition out of the pose. And the reason we hold them a little longer is so that we can get into the connective tissue. Good. So making your way out of that side as you're ready, you can walk your hands back in towards you. I like to come back to downward facing dog when I come out of there and just start to pedal it out, but you might just be shaking out the legs, transitioning to the second side in whatever way it feels appropriate for you. Otherwise, you might take that right leg up to the sky, shake it out a few times. Just releasing, take a moment to notice the difference between the right side and the left side. Good. And then as you're ready, we'll float the left leg up. Maybe take a bend in that left knee to open up through the left hip. You can roll out your foot a few times, spread the toes, feel into your ankle. Good. And then as you're ready, you'll start to draw the knee in towards your nose. Let the shin find the earth. And that left foot can come in towards you. You can just relax the foot. Sometimes in our vinyasa yoga classes, we parallel the shin toward the front of the mat. We flex the foot and we engage the muscles. It's a little more active. In restorative, in the yin practice, we really want to relax the muscles as much as we can to really tune into that calming of the body. So relaxing that left foot, draw it in towards you. Maybe you're bringing something under that left hip, a block, a bolster. And then the block can feel a little hard, so you might want something soft under there. And then just take your time as you transition into this shape. Nowhere to get to, nowhere to be, but here. Noticing along the way how this side may feel quite different. The two sides are not created equal. So honoring the difference between the two sides, there's, as you know, a lot of things internally that are quite different going on in the body. So just honoring the two sides. And there may be the invitation as you walk your hands forward to go a little deeper. And again, if you're on your back, you're taking the left ankle on top of the right knee for thread the needle. Maybe taking the opposite cheek if you have it resting on the earth to the earth. And as much as you can, letting go, letting be. Just rest. Observing what arises. Maybe coming back to that mantra, the counting of your breath. I'm inhaling. I'm exhaling. Another minute or so here, just balancing out the right and the left. Good. And then again, just slowly taking your time as you walk your hands back to the earth and towards you. Maybe bringing it back to down dog, pedaling it out. Good. And then let the knees lower down to the earth. Sit your weight off to one side and we'll bring the legs out in front of us. So we're setting up for a forward fold. So you can reach the legs in front of you. You might slide a bolster or a blanket under your knees. If not, no need. You can also just let your legs rest on the earth and then just take a moment to wiggle in. Sit up high on your sitting bones. And then when you're ready, just start to walk your hands. I'm going to use a bolster, a little more relaxing. You can walk your hands forward any amount so the knees can be soft. And then just let your hands rest wherever they fall. And start to let your torso melt down any amount. You can also have a bolster on top of the legs, resting the torso there. Wherever you're at, be as relaxed as you can. So just letting the muscles relax. Again, these forward folds are just really good for calming the body, the nervous system. We're also on a physical level getting into the back of the legs again, the hamstrings, the lower back. Let your spine be relaxed and long. Head, neck, and shoulders relaxed and feet relaxed. Sometimes it's nice to give your feet a little massage here with your hands, pressing your hands into the soles of the feet. And where can you soften just a little bit more? Allowing a few more full deep breaths here. Beautiful. And then taking your time, you can start to walk the hands back in towards you. Take a moment up at the top to just notice, observe. So a lot of times we feel these postures a little more so or a lot more so after we get out of them. So kind of notice the residue, the echo of the posture. Where does it land in the body, the mind? Come back to your breath. Good. If you have any props under the knees, you can slide them off to the side. We'll take one more seated stretch here, and then we'll get into an inversion to really work on the ankles and the legs, kind of reducing any inflammation that you might have there. So as you find your seat, bring the left foot to the inner upper right thigh so that the left knee is open. You're getting into that left hip a little bit. And the right leg is just straight. And then start to angle your torso over that right leg. Sit up nice and tall on your sitting bones. You can relax your right foot. And then any amount, start to walk your hands in front of you, crawling them toward the right ankle. Doesn't have to get there. You don't have to find your foot. Just finding your edge without stepping over. Janu Savasana, and just relaxing when you get there and breathing. Notice where you feel this in the body. There's a lot going on in this stretch. We got right hamstring, calf a bit, that left hip, low back, spine. Wherever else you feel it is where you're supposed to feel it. Coming back to the breath. I'll be here for just about a minute or so. As much as you can, let the head, neck, and shoulders release. And notice that where you might be holding tension in your face, it's kind of this great dashboard for what we're holding. So if you can, relax the jaw, relax the tongue, just soften the space behind your eyes, smoothing the space between the eyebrows, third eye, softening the eyes. Good. And then take your time, walk your hands back in towards you, and we'll switch sides. So letting the left leg go long. Bend the right knee, bring the sole of your right foot to the inner upper left thigh. Root down on the sitting bones, and again, just start to angle the torso over the left leg. You can let the left foot relax. And then any amount, walking your hands in front of you. Noticing where you feel this. Sending breath to sensation to start to create some opening, some ease. Just another 30 seconds or so here on this side. Easing into the posture just a little bit more. Beautiful. And then take your time as you walk your hands in toward you. Take a moment up at the top. Notice. Good. And then you can let that go. So let's move into our inversion. If you're near a wall, I invite you to take your legs up the wall, and I'll show you how to get there. It can be a little tricky getting in, but once you're there, it's a good place to be. If you're not near a wall, the alternative would be to take a block under your sacrum and lift the legs up from there. And I'll demo that first, and then I'll put us into legs up the wall. So if you're coming onto your back, come with a block, a book, whatever works for you for support underneath. Even a bolster is great. We'll step the feet hips width apart, walk the heels in towards you. And then you want to lift the hips, take the block on the lowest height and slide it under the very low back, just beneath the spine, the sacrum. Let everything release down onto your block. And then bring the palms to face up on either side of the body with the shoulders relaxed. And you can stay right here. This might feel like a beautiful place to be. It feels pretty good to me. Or if you want to get into that inversion, you'll lift both legs up toward the ceiling. You'll let everything release down. And you'll have that reverse flow of blood and that opening up through the feet and the legs, that releasing of inflammation. So you can stay right there. Okay, and if you're at the wall, I'm going to take a bolster underneath my lower back. You don't need to do that. What you want to do is take one of your hips. I'm taking the right hip as close to the wall as you can. So maybe there's a few inches between you and the wall. You'll bend your knees. And then you're rolling onto your back and just taking your legs up. And if there's tension there, if that's too much, you want to scoot your hips back a little bit, or again, take a blanket or bolster under your hips. And then just let your legs rest on the wall, feet relaxed. Maybe palms face up on either side of the body. Maybe close your eyes and just enjoy. This is one of the best postures you can do to really flush the legs out. If you're on your feet a lot, which I know you are, find that release in the feet, the legs. Let the torso relax, the spine relax. Maybe let out a sigh. And just be here now. Allow yourself a few minutes to enjoy this. So good for circulation in the body, digestion. Just a brief meditation while we're here. Start to notice the sounds around you, whether they're in the space that you're in or reaching for the furthest sound outside of the space, the window. And without becoming attached to any one sound, just kind of notice it and then move on to the next sound. Notice that one. Move on to the next. And begin to notice the sounds within, the breath, your belly's grumbling like mine. And then can you allow the sounds from the external and the internal to become one? Symphony of sounds. The spaciousness and awareness expands. Allowing for a few more breaths here. You might, for these last few breaths, bring the soles of the feet together. You can let your knees go wide. If you want to come into this reclined position that we started in, that will get you into the hips a little bit. Otherwise, just keep the legs straight. Good. And then whenever you're ready, we're kind of coming out the same way we came in, or just very ungracefully rolling over to one side, and just take your time. as you come on up, and we made it. We're moving into our final resting pose of Shavasana. So I'm taking bolster under knees. You might have a blanket under your knees. Maybe you have a blanket on top of you if you have that. It's also nice when we roll back to have something on your eyes. If you have a towel or a shirt you want to put on to the eyes, or a layer, get warm. Basically, whatever you need to feel really comfortable through these last few minutes of our restorative practice. And really, this posture is all about just being, letting go, the integration of all of those postures as you just allow yourself the gift of presence. How often do we let ourselves just lay here? Maybe bring the palms to face up on either side of the body as the shoulders draw down the back. Let your heart lift. If it feels safe for you where you are to close your eyes, let the eyes close, or again, maybe take something on top of the eyes. And just let your body rest, letting go, letting be. Just begin to allow your breath to deepen, letting your next inhale become a little bit longer than the last. Start to gently rock your head from side to side as you massage through the back of your neck, inviting any gentle movement into the fingers, into your toes, maybe rolling out the ankles and the wrists in either direction. And as you're ready, reach your arms up over your ears. Come back to that full body stretch. Big full breath in. Long breath out. And you can slide the soles of the feet on the earth as you bend your knees. Just rolling over to one side for a moment, resting your head on your arm. Good, and then gently pressing your way back to seated. We'll find a comfortable cross-legged seated position. Just taking a moment to draw hands to heart in Anjali Mudra, this mudra of gratitude, checking in with one thing that you feel really grateful for today, anything at all. And then taking that sense of gratitude with you as you move out into your day, into your week, into this summer season. Thank you so much for sharing this practice with me today. Hope to see you sometime soon. Namaste, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a beautiful day.